secure and secured all day.
Oh well, the pressure was mounting, the fans spoke, patience was wearing thin. After another lacklustre display today, Martin's gone. Reported for Sky Sports News. We said on the post-match reaction we would go live, and here we are. There's been no official club announcement, but that will come tomorrow morning. Joined by Jack, Doug and Stu, who's wanting to be addressed as Miss Paisley tonight. Jack, how are you getting on?
Much better now that Miss Paisley's in front of me. I'm just kind of happy it's over. It's went on a bit too long, but I mean we're at a place now where it's going to be a big ask to turn things round for whoever comes in, but it's not impossible. If this had been on to after, even to the semi-final, it would have been impossible to get anything out this season. But I think while it's late, it's not too late, if that makes sense.
Aye, I know what you mean. Doug, you're on a post-match game earlier on. We pretty much called this was going to happen due to you could tell his press conferences tend to be a thing when you know a manager's defeated. He knew it was over. We knew it was over. What's your reaction, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't an inevitability at the end of the day. He couldn't keep going the way he was going. Fair enough, the board wanted to try and give him the time. They wanted to try and back their man. But there comes a point where even they have to go and draw a line. And I think, he'd had two sort of false dawns now where he got a victory and said, right, we need to push on from this, and both times failed to do so. And yeah, I think the time is right, because if they do it now, they've got a bit of time because they've got the international break, so it gives them a little buffer to sort of try and get something in place to try and turn things around. Because like Jack said, it's not too late. We're as bad as we've been, we're still only a few points from being like back up in sort of third, second place again. So we can turn things around if we get someone in who, as I say, can do the job right.
Definitely. It's not even a rumour, mate. It's Sky's reported it, Heart and Hands reported it, Rangers Reviews reported it. He's gone. Officially, will be in
Chris Jack, the Grim Reaper himself, just tweeted it out. So I think that's it, pretty much sealed.
Yep. Stu, what's your reaction, my man?
I'll be a lot more comfortable once there's an official club release. But as you've said, it seems pretty nailed on. I'm just relieved. It is like a kind of way off. It's kind of like Doug said, like, it is possible to salvage stuff in the season, but just because of the way he's left us, it's another uphill struggle to kind of retrieve anything out of it. But yeah, hopefully we can get someone then who can make the team hard to beat, start kind of clawing back some points and stuff like that. But thank God it's over, man. I don't have to be watching Rangers through the cracks of my fingers and all that, and getting comfort for watching Rangers ladies beating St Johnstone 12-0 a day.
Yeah. Aye, definitely. I just want to send a massive thank you to Falkirk FC for putting the final nail in the coffin today. It was badly needed. And you've made a lot of Rangers supporters happy bells tonight. I hope you enjoy your point.
It came through for us.
Aye.
Including the few.
Your point, because hopefully it's the last one you get off is this season. Right, so if you're new onto the podcast, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Jack, where do we go for here?
Well, thankfully we've got a couple of weeks with the international break to kind of take stock of everything. Hopefully we can get a new guy in pretty quickly, because I'm sure with this run of results, surely they've been looking at other candidates in the background to try and work out where we would go next if results didn't improve. So I'm hopeful they've been doing the work they should have been doing in the background. We get someone in quickly, we get them in the training park, we take things back to basics, we tighten up the defence. I mean, I'd rather, if we can make a few more chances, win games 1-0, 2-1, 2-0, just grind out the results you need. But the frustrating part is we had a really easy start to the season. We've not been Easter Road, we've not been to Tynecastle, Parkhead or Pittodrie. So whoever does come in needs to kind of hit the ground running. And as poor as the players have been, I do think they're better on paper, but it's just turning that mentality around. It needs to happen quickly, which is why it's a necessity. This doesn't go on for ages. We don't get into them. We get someone in, we get them in quickly.
Aye, definitely. Doug, you've gave us a slide that who's just tweeted it, Scott? Is Rangers FC just tweeted it? Or there's another one saying he's going. I wonder if Rangers have released some confirmed by the club as we speak. Here we are. Done. Now, if that's not good enough news for everybody that he's officially sacked, then give us a wee like and subscribe since we came live for you as well. We're here. Doug, what's your reaction to that? I'll put that slide back up since you've created it. Speak us through how bad this crap really was.
Well, it's woeful. I mean, in terms of my reaction is cheerio. I mean, I think the slide speaks for itself. Obviously, we put that up in our socials. I think earlier in the week, so it doesn't include the most recent game, but I mean, everything that's a red mark beside it is not a win, and that's a big long line of too much red for a Rangers manager at the end of the day. We said it earlier on, he's 17 games and he's only won 5 matches. That's just not acceptable at Rangers. I'm sorry. But again, what really compounded it, not just that, because you could have potentially have still had an argument for him if he had signs of development, if he had signs of growing things, if we were narrowly missing out, if we were battering teams with 101 chances and it just wasn't quite working. But there was absolutely nothing there. We were scraping games by, we were getting dominated by the likes of St Mirren, by the likes of Falkirk, and we weren't creating chances. And to make the combo worse, not only did we not create chances, but we would let in easy goals. And so you saw it whenever we came up against actually a fully decent team like your Bruges, or I mean even Sturm Graz and Ghent, who are decent teams but not the best of teams. We went from drawing to losing. And so, as we said, it was only going to be a matter of time, and I'm just thankful that they've, taken the decision while it's still early enough to, as I say, salvage something out of this season. Because I do think, as much as we've not seen it a lot from some of the players we've signed, I do think some of them are good players. I mean, Gassama has shown it. I think Cornelius has shown it in the short time he's been here. We saw signs from Ant-Man as well. He kind of started off high and kind of drifted as time went on. So I think there are players there that have shown signs that they can give us something. We just now need to find someone who can get the best out of them.
Yep, 100%. Doug, I've texted you a picture of his statement. Could you get it uploaded for us, mate, if you've got time? That would be very much appreciated. Jack, I'm going to come back to you because in the statement it speaks about Matt Gill, Williamson, the greatest ever set-piece coach that's ever set foot at Rangers FC, has also been relieved of their duties. But Saul Bamba, no Saul Bamba. How the hell did you see his name? How did the guy play for
Sal Bibble, I believe.
Sal Bibble, that was the one, not Saul Bamba. He was the guy who played for Leeds and Dunfermline and all that. And played for everybody, man. Aye, a goalkeeping coach has stayed, which I'm happy with. Jack Butland will be happy with. What's your reaction to his backroom staff getting the bag wheel?
I will. The stuff with Williamson, I mean, if you talk to Carlisle fans, they think he's the worst manager they've ever had because he tried to do the same thing with them, and they weren't able to do it because they tried to do too much too quickly. They ended up getting them relegated, and Mark Hughes is trying to turn them round. Gill, don't know much about, but he was rotten at MK Dons as well, Williamson. I don't know why we thought this combination would work. You see with Gerrard, if you bring in a young coach, you need to have an experienced head beside him, no someone that's just going to go, aye, Russell, that sounds great. You know what I mean? The goalie coach, I don't mind because we've seen an improvement in Jack Butland this year from where he was last year, so maybe he is having a positive impact. And that's the only reason I can think behind him not going as well, because I'm sure he was a Martin hire as well. It would be a bit awkward in that group chat though if everybody else got the sack and he's like that. I'm still here, boys. But he has improved Butland, so I can see the reasoning behind it.
Oh, 100%, aye, 100%. Stu, what's your reaction? Official now.
I was just reading over the statement there. I said at the start, I'd feel a lot better once I'd seen one, and I do. Like, so that's the kind of definitely happening. I agree the backroom staff should go as well. You just need to clear out the deadwood, any kind of old ideas, old ethoses of being all in, clearing anxiety, healing and stuff like that. Willingness to run with the ball. We need to get all that out the players' head. So anybody who might be carrying that same message and singing off that same hymn sheet needs to go with them. And I'm glad that's been the case. Much as you don't like to see people losing their job, but the direction they were taking the club with Martin wasn't good enough. So yeah, fresh start all in.
Well, unfortunately, I got wind of this like a wee while ago. We all got a feeling that his sacking was going to come eventually. So I started up with Round Broke series again, and I only managed to get one interview done, which is Michael Carrick, and that is on my YouTube page. I know that's not going to make anybody head over and watch it, but the interview is there. I'm working on Mark Van Bommel. I'm hoping to get that done. Stephen Robinson, I DM'd a few St. Mum podcasts, and I got a couple of lovely messages back saying a polite no. There's no point chasing up McInnes because Hearts will not let him go. Brian, give me your initial reaction and thoughts going forward for Rangers.
Knew it was going to happen. I knew for the second he was appointed. He wasn't the right man for the job. You'll remember my initial reaction because
you're in hiding for about a week.
I threw the toys out the pram. Baby was out the bathwater. Absolute everything. I made the poll in the chat about him getting sacked before Kashinya, and I was right. An absolute joke of an appointment, and I don't think he's going to be the last one to go. The finger's now starting to point towards Thelwell. The finger's now starting to point towards Patrick Stewart as well. So they've got to get the next one right, or it's them next. So it's unacceptable. This was never going to work. It was never going to work. And all the people that were going on about how good a football philosopher and stuff like that, nonsense, absolute nonsense. So yeah, I built for that.
But Marek Papson.
I built for that. Yeah, there's one. We just the thing about we all knew this was going to happen. What we now need to know is who's next. Who's going to be the one that's going to come in? We can't be taking any chances with any foreigners that are going to come in and not understand the philosophy or the expectations or the culture of the football club. We can't be any of these project philosophy. This needs to be somebody that can come in and win this league. And if it takes breaking the budget, that's what it takes.
100%. Completely agree. Stu, obviously, the first name that's going to be on everybody's lips is Steven Gerrard. So probably the most popular. Everybody in the comments, get your candidate and tell me who you want. Who Rangers need just now. Two different questions, but it'll be interesting to know. What's your thoughts on Gerrard, Stu?
I've always spoke very fondly of the Steven Gerrard era. I'd love him back. I think it would be a good thing, but it's like, was it Ryan said earlier, we can't have another project manager. And I think it would take Steven Gerrard maybe a couple of seasons to get it to fix what's been done so far. And all I need to get shouted about is Sean Dyche. And when I hear that shouted about, I kind of think of back to when Walter Smith came back in. He made us hard to beat. He made us a team that were kind of strong defensively and were still able to score goals. I think Sean Dyche would probably be able to do that kind of quite quickly. I think he'd probably be able to win the league up here. I think immediately he'd be able to kind of shore us up kind of quicker than Steven Gerrard would. You know what I mean? I think if we went with Steven Gerrard, we'd have to wait a couple of seasons to get him as winning the league again, whereas I think Sean Dyche could do a quicker patch-up job. So it just depends what the priorities are, really. I'm kind of torn. I'd love Steven Gerrard back, but I think as manager, a kind of dogged, we need to get this team difficult to beat, stop shipping goals, stop leaking points. It's kind of what taking the immediate. But I do love the romance of having Steven Gerrard back at the same time.
Give me a sky.
Jack, what about you? There's an awful lot of calls out for Gerrard or Barry Ferguson here.
Gerrard I would be on board with. I think you talk about how long it took him coming in the first time, but I think he won't have that learning curve this time. He'll know what he's coming up against. He'll know the club, the standards, what he's facing in the league this time from day dot. and he absolutely fucking hates Celtic, which always helps. But Barry, as much as I like Barry was my first ever Rangers captain. His win percentage wasn't much better than Martin's for his interim spell. As much as he kind of brought the Rangers bravado back, it wasn't great. There was a lot of poor results, especially at Ibrox. But Barry as part of a coaching team, I wouldn't mind, but there's always that issue where you worry he's going to undermine the guy who is actually in charge. But out of the two, I'd be a lot more keen on Gerrard coming back.
Aye, definitely. It's an interesting one. Doug, are we going down the interim route, or are we going for another permanent manager here?
I think we should go for a permanent manager. I think they've got the time. As I said, I think they've made the smart decision to do it now, because they've now got that couple of weeks that they can take to get something sorted. So I don't think we need to go down the interim route. They took a huge amount of time last time, but as I say, they need to just. We were told, or it was suggested, that they had potentially started drawing up some names because they obviously potentially saw this coming. So ideally, they're sitting there with that list now, ready to go out and start contacting people. So I think an interim would just be. It's too early in the season. For me, I think if you were halfway through towards the end, you maybe do an interim like we did, obviously, with Barry. That worked fine. But yeah, I think we're early enough that they should just go straight in and get someone in the door who's going to be permanent.
Ryan, did we hold off appoint somebody interim for a month and then bring Muscat in?
If others aren't available, Muscat's probably not my first choice. Like we all said earlier on, I think we were all pretty much in agreement that this is still very much salvageable as far as us. We're not out of this league by any matter of means. Look at the competition. Hearts will eventually falter. A couple of injuries to a couple of key players, you'll start seeing faults there. We all know that the other team in Glasgow, Celtic, aren't doing particularly well. They had to come back from 2-1 down. They're drawing 0-0 at home last week. They're not in their normal free-flowing movement at this moment in time. So there's opportunity here to get this. I think the next one's going to be permanent. I don't think we're going to be looking towards an interim. They must have known a month ago that this was going to happen. They must have known. So we just need to kind of wait and see what they've got and wait to see what they're. My worry is that they made such a mess of it last time, and they clearly didn't know what they were doing last time to the extent there. And I'm worried that they're going to make the same mess of it again. So it's, I'm hoping it's going to be positive. I'm hoping it's going to be one of the names that we're seeing in the comments, because all the names in the comments, I've not really got too much of a problem with. Some more alike than others. But do we trust the people who are actually going to make the decision to make the right decision this time round? Because what a pig's arse they made of it last time.
Definitely, mate. There's obviously been a mandate given down to the Thelwell and Stewart, though. Jack, that mandate was obviously to have some kind of style of play. Do we need to scratch it and go for somebody closer to home now?
I would. I think if you're looking at kind of closer to home options, I don't think Derek McInnes comes now. Hearts at 11 points clear of us now. He'd be stupid to take the step to us. It's a bigger club, but at this moment, Hearts are in a lot more stable position. Your other option maybe would be Stephen Robinson, who's done overperformed with the St Mirren team. But again, is that what you're wanting at this stage? Are you wanting a guy like that? I'd say no. But I don't see this board going too far different. I think they'll want someone that's going to come in and play passing football. I think Gerrard, I'm sure we've all seen the video of that goal against Galatasaray. His teams could do that. Muscats could do it. It's just waiting for that season to finish might be a pain. So yeah, I don't see him going for a Dyke. I mean, I would not be against it myself. I just feel like they spent this time on Martin because of his style of play. They're going to want someone in that's going to play a passing style of play at least, first and foremost, I think.
Just, I'm getting an awful lot of new viewers and new commenters in the comments. Welcome. I'm banning the ones that aren't welcome, but if you're new to Rangers Journal, welcome. Please smash the like and subscribe button. I'm quite happy to keep my ban hammer out, so keep on cracking on, lads. Doug, what about you in terms of strategy now? You're our stat guy. You fell out of love with Russel Martin much quicker than I ever would have thought. I think that's fair to say. You've always backed people to the hilt, gave folk the benefit of the doubt, but you weren't for having Russell Martin. So if you're appointing the next manager, what you doing?
Yeah, I mean, Russell gave me nothing to back. At the end of the day, I put a tweet out a couple of weeks ago, I think, when I made that point where I do tend to try and see the bright side, look at the positives. And pretty much every other manager we've had, even Beale, had something I was able to point at and go, well, that's good at least. So maybe that's something. I couldn't find something for Russell. And so, as you say, I was as quick as everyone to go. In terms of strategy, it just needs to be someone that can get us winning football matches at the end of the day. I mean, we talk about things like projects and that. And to me, I mean, a lot of that is just sort of modern day buzzwords. All football clubs are projects. Every manager that comes in is working his own project with the team. It just needs to be someone that has an idea of how they want to play and can translate that to the players so that they can produce that on the pitch to get results. Ultimately, Martin, he had his philosophy and he had his ideas, but he could not translate that to the players to get something out on the pitch that was winning. So we just need to have that. So regardless of who it is, I mean, obviously we're seeing loads of different options in the comments, and I've been sort of sitting last couple of weeks thinking through all of them, and there's pros and cons to everyone. Like, obviously, for example, if you're going with a Gerrard, he's got the knowledge of having been here before. And when I was actually kind of thinking about it as well, the squad, I think the squad kind of might work for him as well, because there's a couple of echoes, I think, with players like, you know, Gassama is kind of Kentish in terms of the way he likes to drive and break. We've got Ant-Man, who's similar on the opposite wing, which is something that Gerrard didn't always have in terms of options there. Raskin has got that Kamara-esque sort of ness about him. He's still got Tavernier. So, you know, there's players there that I think, you know, Gerrard could work with. People in the comments and on Twitter, I see talking a lot about, but he's gone away and been a failure. Well, it doesn't really matter what he's done elsewhere. If he comes back here and replicates what he's done before and improves, then that will be the main thing. Sometimes managers and clubs just fit. And I said about his original run that I thought he did just fit because he had, I think a lot of his career with Liverpool was sort of analogous with us. So you've got positives there. Muscat's got a style that he's proven to be able to replicate at multiple places. That is winning football, that wins trophies. He's won multiple trophies within over a period of time. So there's something to bank on there. I think you could still potentially get McInnes if you really wanted him. Yes, he's at Hearts and yes, he's doing well. But if he does want to be the Rangers manager and he wants to manage a big club like Rangers, then you can still tempt him away. We've still got things that Hearts don't have, like European football, that again, although we've started off badly, we could still qualify from and make a run in. So there's still things there to tempt people. And obviously, you know, they've got the back in there. Again, touching back on Gerrard as well. One of the reasons that Gerrard left was backing and wanting more backing. Well, he can potentially get that now. But yeah, the strategy's just winning. It's just winning. Everything else comes secondary.
Jack, I'm looking back at you. Danny Roll. That's a name I've had fired into my phone.
Nah, not for me. I feel we've been on a constant sort of decline with the standard of our managers. Gio was a very good appointment. You know, he'd done well at Feyenoord, not done so well. I was at China he went out to, but I don't know. Beale was that was just desperate for Gerrard back. Clement should have worked. I mean, he'd won leagues in different countries. That's the kind of guy I'd want us to be looking at. Somebody that's got a track record of winning. Because Russell Martin had won a playoff trophy, which took 3 games to win. I mean, no history of winning. To come to Rangers, you need a history of being a winner. Like even the guys that have came here and not had history of managing the manager. Walter had been a successful assistant at Dundee United, and with Souness had won everything as a player. Advocat came with a history of winning. McLeish had even won the championship with Hibs. You know what I mean? It's you need someone that knows what it takes to win. You can't have a guy coming in that's got a 30% win record, no matter how expansive his football is or how new his ideals for football are. You need a guy that's a proven winner, and someone that's going to get Rangers as well. And I know Gerrard didn't win much while he was a manager here, but the guy won everything as a player, and I think that's the kind of guy to look at. And I mean, even McInnes has got a good trophy record as a player with us, and he's won a couple of things with Aberdeen. You just worry if sort of some of those old niggling issues he had would creep back in, you know, failing when he gets to the semi-finals, finals when he comes up against Celtic. That would be the only issue. But I feel like he has improved as a coach over the last few years. I feel like his time at Kilmarnock, when he's not had the sort of pressure as he had on him at Aberdeen, helped him play a bit better football. And I think he's wet Hearts, and with a bit of money there, he's shown he can be really good in the transfer market, and he can build a good team. And Hearts aren't the McInnes teams you'd expect, where they'd be sitting in and holding out. I mean, they can do that, but they play some really good football. They get wingers up and down quickly, they get balls in the box. And I'd love to see what he could do with Bojan Miovski, personally. But I just feel like we keep going down and down with managers, and I feel like Danny Rowe's just an uninspiring name, and it's not going to excite the fans. I feel like you need a name that's going to get at least a decent percentage of the fan base going, yes, I'm going to back this man. I want to go and see this guy in the flesh, and we've not had that in a while.
Aye, 100%. Can I disagree? Stu, what about you? Direction do you want to see a club going in?
I think kind of similar to what Jack's saying there. Somebody is established. I want like a safe bet. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can't be rolling the dice again. We can have another gamble. We need somebody who's got a track record, going to produce results, kind of set the team up to play in this league. We need to get it right. It needs to be a safe bet, I feel. But in terms of an actual name, I said earlier, I'd probably think Dice would be the way forward. But I don't know. I can't think of anybody else. But it does definitely need to be a kind of established name and a safe bet.
Aye. Fair enough. Guys, if you're new on the channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm running out of butter, lads. So is anybody getting the way I get off their chest?
I was at the game today, and I spoke to Martin after it, and he just looked like a guy that was done. But I just feel like I don't understand the whole rhetoric coming out of the club. Well, I don't understand why we have to peter around the issues that are going on. He's still out there. I'm not sure if it's before or after Stuart had the conversation, but he's still out there saying, you know, I thought we've done well. I just want someone to come in who's going to treat the media like Gerrard did. He's respectful, but he won't talk rubbish, and he'll clamp down on any remarks he gets from them. I mean, I think that's been an issue since Beale, where we've not had a guy that knows how to handle the Scottish media. Like, Beale would waffle on, he'd contradict himself, and then Clement would start gaslighting. And then Russel Martin just talked all of my language. Russel Martin talked pish. He'd tell you all the improvements, but there's no improvement. It would just get worse week on week. So I just wonder what you guys think. Do you think that matters? We need a guy you're going to be excited for his press conferences after the games, and you're going to be sitting on the Rangers YouTube channel watching all the way through, because I don't feel like we've had that since Gerrard left.
Ryan, you go first.
As far as who I think the way should go?
No, Jack asking about media press conferences. Gerrard went in, held the room well, etc.
I just feel we need somebody who's going to talk and get the fans, back together.
The guy just glows when he walks into a room. He's just got something about him that he just, when he walks into a room, everybody turns around and goes, like, Christ, there he is, right? And that's fans, media, players. When he walks into a room, he commands attention. You know, he doesn't. It's hard to describe. It's just like a kind of aura that kind of floats about him. And when he kind of handles the press, the guy was Liverpool captain for how many years, and not always the most successful Liverpool teams as well. So he had to handle certain situations. He was part of a Liverpool team that absolutely bottled a league as well, and had to handle all the press and took a lot of personal responsibility over that. Over obviously falling flat on his backside in front of Anfield. And then he was the England captain as well. And the level of expectation that the England fans have is completely unrealistic sometimes compared to the actual results that they can pull off. So the guy knows how to handle pressure media situations. He can handle the Scottish press, no problems at all. The guy's been at the top of football. You know, he's held the European Cup in his hands after one of the greatest finals in history. So getting asked these silly questions about what did you think about the referee, it's no problem at all. Absolutely fine. And you seen the one that the guy was having a wee go at, I think it was Morelos. It was at Livingston during COVID. And he just goes, lad, don't worry about Alfredo. He's jumping about with no top on, singing Sweet Caroline. Don't worry about him. And that was it, shut down. And things like that can happen. It doesn't need to entertain these numpties with their own wee agendas and stuff like that in Scottish media. He'll be absolutely fine.
Another thing I was wondering, what do you think the expectations are going to be on whoever the guy is? Say we do get someone in this sort of international break. When they come in, what would be your expectations for them to do for the remainder of this season? Whoever wants to go for it, go for it.
Doug, what you about?
Win. That's the expectation of any Rangers managers, to win. I think whoever comes in will get more grace than Martin did, unless it's again someone that sort of truly seems woeful on paper. Because again, one of the handicaps Martin had was that people didn't want him before he was even appointed, so he started in a negative position. I'd like to think it's unlikely that'll happen again. So if anyone that comes in will get a bit of grace to try and sort things out and work with the team a little bit. But I mean, to be blunt, it's not going to be difficult to improve on what Russel Martin brought. A lot of people are referring to him as the worst manager in their lifetime, and I hate to say I don't like to deal in best and worst a lot of the time myself, but I'd have to probably agree. I don't think I've seen, and that includes Pedro Caixinha and the likes of Paul Le Guen. I've not seen a manager who, as I say, has toiled in this way and just failed to make improvements and just drawn games as frequently. Every other manager's managed to win matches, and it's kind of just been up and down and bits and bobs, and whereas Russell just never had ups. So again, they'll be in to win, but I think the minimum will be to obviously just get us back up to the top end of the table, back into second at the very minimum. I still think we can challenge though for the league. As I said earlier, we're not a million miles away points wise, luckily. So I still think a manager has the potential to mount a challenge. So that would be the gauntlet I would put down to them. I'd say, right, try see if you can make a challenge out of this. If we have finished the season and we end up with 3 points behind Celtic, then I would consider that success based on where we've come from at this point. There's still 2 trophies to be won domestically, and there's still Europe there, so there's plenty to fight for. And as I say, we're not completely out of anything at this moment in time. So the gauntlet is there. So any manager that comes in, one of the things I think we've talked about before is managers with aura. And a manager like that will look at that and go, there's 4 trophies I can compete for. There's a great challenge. There's a great club. That's a decent fist of players I've got there. I can do something with this, and I've the confidence that I can do something with this. And that's the type of person that we need. So if we get someone like that, as I say, we can hopefully turn this season into, as I say, some kind of semi-success.
Jack, if I can come back in quickly, mate. I'm reading something that Ben Jacobs on Twitter's put up. Steven Gerrard and Danny Rowe both remain appreciated by senior figures at the club and were on the shortlist before Martin took charge. I'll leave that one with you.
Well, Ben Jacobs, I know he does a lot of sort of English media. I've heard the name, Talk Sport, so I'm not sure how reliable it's going to be. But
Alex Cook.
I would agree with that. Both of them were mentioned this summer. I think the board have got to get fans back on side, particularly Patrick Stewart if he's sticking around. Gerrard would get. Now I know we've had the pros and cons of Gerrard in this conversation, but one thing he would do is the majority of the support would back that and be happy to see him back. And I think it's a no-brainer win for this board to try and get some fans back on side. Now, right enough, it could go tits up and then they're once again under the criticism, but that's going to happen no matter who you hire. I think at least with Gerrard, you get that initial boost of guys happy to see him back. I don't think you get that with Danny Rowe. And I know I sound like I'm being negative in Danny Rowe, but I just, the thought of another championship manager coming in just filled me with absolute apathy and dread. Oh, and sorry, and what I was going to touch on, Doug, I was doing just some research into also hearing Martin's getting sacked. He's not the worst manager in your lifetime. He's the worst permanent Rangers manager ever, full stop. His win percentage is, I believe it finished at like 29.4%. I mean, that's relegation fodder stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous him to let it go on even this long.
It's absolutely woeful, and obviously that's why he's got the sack. And I'm just obviously, as we're chatting, I'm kind of scrolling through Twitter for anything interesting. I've just seen what has got to be going to, I think, be one of the best tweets of the day. It's just a screenshot of the statement. And it just says, not a lot of meat on that statement, which is what Russel Martin would have wanted. had to point that out. So congratulations to, what's that, at Comedy Ray. You have got what I think will probably be the best tweet of the day. That'll be getting retweeted. Sure.
Do you guys reckon this kind of calms the stuff down on Stewart? Because we've seen the banners with both Martin and Stewart. Do you think now that decision's been made that will kind of fade into the background, or do you think that the sort of protest against his position that'll keep going?
Stu, go to you with that one.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, I think it absolutely kind of focuses the spotlight on them, to be honest, because they've come under such scrutiny for the absolute car crash of an appointment. They continue to back him, continue to obviously approve the funds. But I think if at the moment the spotlight will be very, very much on them, microscope be on them, because this next decision needs to be right, needs to push the club forward, needs to bring stability. So I think the heat will actually probably get turned up on them a bit, rather than taking, like, obviously getting the heat off them a bit. I think they're absolutely going to be a point of focus now. What do you think?
What about you, Ryan? Do you think he'll still get it, or do you think it'll kind of calm down if they get a new man in quickly?
Depends on the results, obviously. So you've got to see how quickly the team can now turn around. Now that he's gone, because we're all of that, I wouldn't say we all are. The majority of us are in the opinion that the recruitment's actually been not too bad. There's been plenty of really good players being signed over the summer, but they've just been deployed in a fashion and a formation with tactics that are just completely void of anything that's recognisable. At least with some managers, you can see certain amounts of patterns of play and stuff like that. You can see what they're trying to do. But the amount of times that we're sitting, and obviously we sit beside each other, but I'm turning around looking at you going, mate, they're all statues. But the right back's got the ball and nobody is moving. Whereas
they're always standing behind players.
They're hiding. But at least decently coached and decently trained players will say, right, when Tavernier's get the ball, this guy comes in. When this guy comes in, this guy's to get the ball, and this guy's got to be thinking of it. And they train it and they just drill it and they drill it and they drill it and they drill it. And like some of the fan medias were saying the other day, that we don't look coached. We don't look coached. We don't. It's literally like as if he's standing there and he just walks in and he hands out 11 there. That's Sunday league stuff, mate. That's Sunday league. It's like, who's going to show up today? Who's sober enough to play? And it's just, it's an abomination. Like I was calling us the Glasgow Strangers, because that's what we were playing like. We were playing like 11 guys that just showed up for a charity match that don't even know each other's names. And it just wasn't good enough. But I do believe that there are some half-decent players in there. And the Heat, see all these guys like Thelwell and Stewart, Kavanagh, Parag Marathi, they should be anonymous to us. We shouldn't even really know who they are. They should be able to walk past us in the street and we don't even really know who these guys are. We know what their name is because we know what the position is because we're Rangers fans and we take it serious and stuff like that. But they should be able to walk past us in the street and just, is that so? Maybe that was him. It looks like him anyway. They shouldn't be getting, confronted in hotels after European games on a Thursday night, getting shouted at and sworn at because things aren't. This shouldn't be the way. So hopefully things will turn around football-wise because the football is the most important part of it. Leave the businessmen to do the business stuff and let the football guys do the football stuff.
You spoke about the recruitment. What sort of players do you think are going to have? Because we both know Nico Raskin and Clinton Enciala will both be dancing at the training ground at the moment or tomorrow. But what players do you think are going to just feel the relief that he's gone? Because I actually think it's the opposite, Ryan. I think we look overcoached. I think they look like they've been told to do too many specific jobs and they're too busy thinking about everything they've been told that they're not just playing the natural game. So
he stands at the side of the park and flaps his arms about like a given-yard seagull. Do you know what I mean? He just stands there and flaps his arms about. He's pointing here and pointing there. Like, mate, what are you talking about? What do you actually want? That see if you want something to happen, get the guy to come across and talk to you. And you used to see that Clement used to do that when guys used to come off the park. Clement used to grab him for a wee 20 seconds. It's just a word in the ear and stuff like that. Maybe an explanation to why they were getting taken off. I thank you for what they've done well and what they didn't. But that's my management. Standing at the side of the park and flapping your arms about, expecting things to happen is crazy. It's like the two guys that were the old Still Game meme. Remember the two coaches in Still Game? That's what it was like. It was ridiculous. But guys will be pleased that he's gone. The strikers 100%. Majovsky and Chermiti, I think will be glad. I think you'll start to see them getting a bit more involved. We'll hopefully start to see them get more involved when the manager comes in. The midfield in general as well, because I don't think the midfield is very well organised. Bailey Rice will probably be quite glad. Finlay Curtis will be glad as well. Maybe they'll start to see more opportunities come their way. NCL was another one that you'd mentioned there. So guys like that.
Doug, you're the stats guy. Who do you feel has been the most sort of hampered by the sort of style of play we've been trying to play, and who do you think we can kind of see burst out? What about maybe Thelo Asgard?
He's one. I mean, the one that immediately comes to my mind is Ant-Man, just based on his output last season, the number of assists he was putting out in the Eredivisie. I do think that it's very obvious as we've gone on that he cuts inside a lot, and to me, that isn't the game he played last season when he was with Go Ahead Eagles. He was more of the traditional winger who would go on the outside and put balls in. So I think he's one that I think we could get much more out of if we play to his game and let him do that. I was having a back and forth with someone on Twitter yesterday about that he didn't think Ant-Man was quick, and I was like, "What? Who are you watching? This guy, he's rapid if he gets the opportunity to run, but he's not getting that opportunity because he's quite clearly getting told to cut in, which is what he's doing. And it's obviously not. I mean, it's not to let Tavernier overlap because Tavernier doesn't overlap him. Tavernier goes in and central as well because how many times have we seen Tavernier score from that kind of central area just outside the box? That's somewhere that he quite likes to go. So I would like to see him, making those runs to the byline more often and taking that outside line more often. I think we get more at him. Asgard is definitely one of the ones that a couple of us have touched on the fact that there are decent players in there and we've seen stuff from players. I don't think we've seen enough from him. Certainly in an attacking output. We all marvelled at his appearance when he got his 4 goals out on international duty before. So he quite clearly can score goals. But we're not getting that from him now. So, he's someone that we can get more out of. And I think we can get more from Magoma as well. I personally put him on the side of someone that has done well. He's been pretty solid. I think we've talked in the past when we're talking about fullbacks about having the kind of patch type of just a solid, just give us 7 out of 10 every week, and that'll be good. And I kind of felt like he was fitting into that mold. He'd had a couple of games where he was poor, but on the whole, I thought he's been pretty solid. But again, I want to see more from his attacking output. Can he get assists in his game? he's a quick lad as well, and I do think there's been signs for him and Gassama have looked like they could maybe do something, work together, but again, it just hasn't quite come to fruition. Whereas in the game today and the previous game, when Cornelius has been on that left side, I think he immediately, him and Gassama seemed to play really well together, which was in part because of how Cornelius was playing, and like he was very immediately pushing up and looked like he wanted to be an attacking fullback, which I was actually surprised about. So I think there's plenty there to get out of, and I think those two for me, so Asgard and that man, are probably the main two. Obviously, I mean, you could say Trimity as well, I suppose. He's got the 8 million ring around his neck, so there's definitely more to get from him, because if he continues not scoring, then the pressure will build.
Thanks for that, Doug. Stu, see the amount of texts I've had in the last 10 minutes about Miss Paisley 2002. It's absolutely ridiculous, man.
Sorry, David Paisley. I'm sure your birds are cracking.
I wonder why I see the runner up.
Amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for your donation, mate. It's greatly appreciated. If you're new to the Rangers Journal, we're 9 subs away for 4,003. No, hold on, 4,000 something.
Get the calculator out, Scott.
4,300. We're 9 subs away, so please hit that subscribe button over on my YouTube channel. It'll be greatly appreciated, and that'll be over 70 subs we've gained today. We're busting one nut to try and provide you with content we possibly can. So please hit a like, subscribe button, and tell all your pals about it. Miss Paisley, I'm going to come to you on give me 2 players who have been underachieving within a squad that you can see potentially come to the fore. Who sticks out?
Underachieving.
But you can't be Miss Paisley, the beard's not long enough.
Players underachieving. Oh, I had my 2 names for players I'd be happy Martin's gone, and between the 5 of us, I think we'd named the first 11 plus 5 subs. But in terms of players who've underachieved under Martin, I'd love to see Raskin going back to the way he was playing under Barry Ferguson at the end of last season. Thought he was an absolute world beat at the end of the season, and I think he's been kind of hampered by Martin, so I think we'll see a real flare with Raskin. I don't think he's underperformed. I think Jack Butland's had a good season, but he's still been on the end of some terrible results. And arguably, he's salvaged some of the results, some of the draws. So I think he'll start to look even better when we get a manager coming in who'll set the defence up correctly and have our midfield controlling the ball, moving the ball forward. So I think Jack Butland will shine more, probably get some results his performances deserve, and I think we'll see kind of Raskin really flourish now that Martin's away.
Fair enough. Jack, what about you?
I think Asgard, I've been really critical of him. I think he just looks scared. I think he looks like he doesn't know what to do. I'd like to see Rothwell a bit more from him. I feel like he has started to improve a wee bit more, but he is one of Martin's boys, so I'm not sure how he'll take it. But you hope he's got the mentality he can just kind of kick on. Aarons is another one. He was one of Martin's boys, but you're kind of hoping that he might be able to finally show something. Now he's got his goal, and maybe been in a better team, he might show something. Someone just mentioned in the chat, Curtis, and Maves, Curtis definitely. I think the boy's shown every time he's played he's a goal threat and he's good enough to be in our first team. And I just hope we get someone in who's not afraid to just put him in the wing. While he's playing well, obviously he'll have his drop-offs, but while he's in form, get him playing, give him a run out and see how good he is. I think Gassama would benefit. I know he's done well, but I feel we're already resorting to give him the ball when things aren't going well. I feel if we've got a few more players playing better in a different system, it'll ease the pressure on him, and we might see a more natural game from him and a bit more out of him, especially domestically. So
apparently there's a WhatsApp rumour, right? Graham Potter. I'd prefer Harry Potter if I'm being honest, but here we are. The good thing is about WhatsApp rumours is that none of them have been right so far. There's no.
Is there any way to put like Graham Potter's face over all 5 years right now, just for the rest of the podcast?
I know. Ryan, what players can you see getting a bit of a resurgence, and would you be concerned about Rothwell? Chaz, thanks for the donation, mates. I appreciate it.
Rothwell, no, because we've been told he's been getting played out of position. So
Right.
you'd like to think that we'd see somebody who is more part of a championship winning team last season. You know, if you're good enough to play in a team that wins the English Championship, you're probably going to come up here and do reasonably well and be part of the first team of either firm. Maybe you won't play every week, but you're certainly part of a squad and you'd be good enough for that. And obviously it comes with a decent amount of experience and stuff. He's coming towards the end of his career on that side of things. So you'd like to think he's probably going to be one that will be part of the resurgence. Dale Asgard seriously needs to get his finger at his backside. Seriously, and I think he's one that, you know, a stronger kind of manager will stick a rocket up his backside. He's underperforming so badly for us. And I think you maybe got to think about you're taking Rothwell out, a team that won the championship last season, and we've signed Asgard from a team that got relegated from the championship last season. You know, you've got to kind of look at the kind of two differences in that you know, why is Rothwell not getting as much game time as Asgard does? So, but they'll be the two that I'd like to think came with a half decent calibre. We've seen how good Asgard is. You don't score 4 goals in an international stage. I know people will say it was only Moldova, but he still scored 4 goals for his country. You don't do that unless you're a half decent player. So there's more to come from him.
Definitely. Martin, thank you for your donation, mate. You're right. If Thelwell and Stewart had listened ages ago, it would have been would have happened long before now. But main thing is, a call's been made tonight. Rangers are sitting 8th in the league, and there's something there still to be salvaged. So thank you for your contribution, mate. So, Doug, is there anybody else that you think could potentially get a resurgence for? What about Clinton Inciala? Right, I'll give him his on Inciala and get your thoughts on. He's stayed. He's not been on loan or nothing. Where's the future lying with him? Doug, I'll start with you.
Well, I'd be bringing him back into the first team squad straight away for starters. You know, I thought he showed plenty last season that he, you know, was good enough to at least be challenging for the place. He had some really good passing, some good crossing. During that, he was a young lad, so he made mistakes, and young players will make mistakes. But I certainly saw enough from him that I was sitting there, you know, when we were doing like the post-season squad reviews and things like that, we were talking about that. Oh yeah, you know, he looks like he's a decent signing, someone that we could maybe build up and sell on. And we were, as far as I remember, I don't think anyone was really in opposition to the idea that we were excited to see what potentially could come from him in the new season. As a, you know, a centre back who can pass the ball well, I thought he would have actually suited Martin, but seemingly Martin obviously didn't like him. So yeah, I hope that he gets an opportunity. We brought in Fernandez, and he's disappeared from the scene. So I think there's scope for him to fight his way into the squad. He's maybe not going to be a starter, given the sort of main guys we have ahead of him. But that being said, a lot of people are not really sold on Giga at the moment either. So, you know, if you're looking at just Cornelius and Suter being the sort of nailed on starters, then I say that there's definitely places there to be won. Not everyone's sold. In fact, I say that not everyone's really sold on Suter either. So, you know, there's space for him to try and fight for a place. And particularly, as I say, because he was a promising young player, I think even if you don't think he's going to be ultimately what we want, I think we still need to look after players like that because he's still got value. And ultimately, if he never makes a grade, we can still sell him on. But just putting him away and ignoring him doesn't help in that regard. So, as I say, I hope he gets back into the fold, gets the opportunity to show what he can do, and go from there.
Stu, I think Derek Cornelius has been a pretty good signing for Rangers so far. He's on loan with an option to buy. He's came up trumps at left side of centre half when he's played. He's looked decent at left back. He got an assist for a goal a day. He was fairly solid midweek as well. Could Insiala come and be his backup and bring a bit of balance to defence?
Do you know what? I very much wholeheartedly agree with Doug's critique of Insiala there. I absolutely wish we'd seen more of him, and I think that's great. I would absolutely see him as competition for Cornelius and cover there. I don't think anybody that we brought in that stopped his progress has been leaps and bounds ahead of him. Like I said, I agree with Dog. He did have a few errors and stuff like that, but he was a young player. I think he brought more positives. He's had more good performances than bad ones. So yeah, I think that would be a common sense use of one of our players to have him back, getting match fit, getting minutes and competition and cover for Cornelius. So yeah, absolutely agree with that. I'd love to see it happen.
Jack, what about you, mate?
Aye, NCR, he's nowhere near the finished article, but I think he showed enough that he should be a nib at the team. He had a few howlers, Queen's Park, Kilmarnock, but he had a few really good games. He had one in particular, I believe, Aberdeen, where he put in a cracking assist at Ibrox. But I'd like to see a bit more of him. I wouldn't want him to be a starter, but it begs the question, who do you pull out for him to come back in? You just spend close to £4 million on Manny Fernandez, who hasn't got a look in either. Right. But I think maybe a better, maybe you could try him out at left back. I don't know. I think he's maybe one that does still need a loan, but when instead of loaning him out to get rid of him, loan him out with a chance to bring him back after he's got some game time and get an improved player.
Ryan, what about you, mate?
Even he showed spells where you thought he was a great player. He was a great player with the ball at his feet, and he had a fantastic range of passing as well. What he lacked in his game was an element of aggression. When he came up against kind of bigger, stronger men, he get barged about too easily. Like a big man drawing for St Mirren had him on toast at Ibrox last season. And he needs to find a sense of aggression and anger. He needs to get that into his game. But you've got to remember he's still quite a young guy as well. And if he does find that in his game, we've got a great player in our hands. But he might need somebody to come in beside him and coach him through it. If you had somebody like Connor Cody next to him who missed out in the summer, it would have been a great partner for him, because you've got a coach in the park. You look at how well Davy Weir used to coach Danny Wilson through the games on occasion as well. So if you manage to get a kind of older head next to him, they can just talk him through. But that's for me is what he's missing in his game. He's missing that wee bit of nastiness. If he gets that wee bit of nastiness into his game, there's definitely a player in there. No doubt in his ability. You don't go to AC Milan Academy, you don't come to Rangers if you've not got some sort of ability about him. Big Cornelius, I've seen enough of him that I paid the £2.5 million for him. I think it's an absolutely very, very, very comfortable with the ball at his feet. You see the way that he set the goal up today, the crosses that he's putting in. Seems to read the game very well, versatile, left-footed is always an advantage as well when you're looking for balance within your defence as well. There's £2.5 million there all day long for him, not a problem at all.
Definitely. Right, well, I'm going to close up there, guys. So there's 2,300 watching over on Twitter, there's 194 watching on YouTube. Please head over to my YouTube channel, like and subscribe. If you're on my Facebook page, smash the like button as well. Give us a follow on that. Jack, thanks for joining me tonight, mate. Thanks for doing a wee bit of hosting midway through as well. Ryan.
Aye, cheers, mate.
Ryan, thanks for joining.
Yeah.
Happy?
Thank Christ, man. Yes!
Doug, as always, Mr. Reliable, thanks for coming on, pal.
Not a problem. Just the outcome of the poll we put on there was 73% for Gerrard, so he is the popular candidate for the night. Aye,
majority ruling. Stu, thanks for joining us, mate.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us, mate.
No, you're always welcome on, pal. Always welcome on. Corey, good evening, mate. You're too late. We're just shutting up. Sorry to tell you, my man. So, here it is. Martin's time at Rangers officially came to an end. Inevitable's happened. Chapters closed on a reign that promised probably little and nothing and delivered nothing. Fans called for change and now they've got it. What comes next? The club just doesn't need a manager, it needs a leader. Somebody who understands the standards, the pressure, the privilege. Maybe, just maybe, that man Steven Gerrard, he knows the club He knows the demands. He's done it before. And there's a sense that his story here isn't quite finished. Martin out. The rebuild continues. And as window closes, another might just be opening. Every night is a Rangers Journal night. Good night.